There are moments in history when a quiet life in a forgotten town is shattered not by storms or politics, but by something far stranger. An unexpected visitor carrying the weight of a past no one can verify and a truth no one is prepared to face. This is the story of such a moment and such a man. The town of Briar Ridge sat tucked between gentle hills and endless wheat fields. A peaceful place where the loudest noise came from the old church bell or the occasional train groaning along rusted tracks. Its people liked routine, predictability, and the comforting illusion that the world beyond their borders was someone else's responsibility. But on a cold Tuesday morning, everything changed. A man stepped off the bus onto the cracked pavement of the station. He was lean, quiet, and moved with an economy of motion that made the hairs on the necks of observant people stand up. His clothes were simple: canvas jacket, worn boots, plain jeans. Nothing about him looked new except the way he scanned the town in a single slow sweep, as if measuring distances, angles, and sight lines without meaning to. His name, according to the ID in his pocket, was Ethan Cole, but to most of Briar Ridge he quickly became known by another title: the sniper who never existed. He rented a room above the old diner and kept mostly to himself, speaking politely but briefly. The elderly owners liked him immediately. The sheriff remained suspicious. Teenagers whispered rumors. Veterans watched him carefully. And the mayor, Harold Dent, a man who hid arrogance beneath a polished smile, saw Ethan as an outsider disrupting his orderly image of the town. Tension grew the moment Ethan visited the county clerk's office, asking for land records belonging to a house long abandoned. "Family matter," he said quietly. But Mayor Dent blocked access. "You're not on any deed, and your background check came back empty." Empty. Not blank, empty. No military service record, no discharge papers, no commendations, no deployments, nothing. A man with the bearing of a soldier, yet the database insisted he had never served a day. Dent exploited this, parading the information across town like a trophy. In his eyes, Ethan was a liar, a drifter, possibly a threat, and Dent believed threats existed solely for him to crush. But Ethan did not argue, did not defend himself, did not raise his voice. He simply watched and waited. Days later, the killings began. Sharp cracks in the night, a distant echo, a body found at the edge of the woods, then another near the railway line. The victims weren't townsfolk, they were strangers. Men carrying weapons with scratched-off serial numbers. Men no one recognized. Fear spread like smoke. Some whispered that Ethan was the killer. Others believed he was protecting the town from something worse. But Mayor Dent saw an opportunity, a chance to assert power, humiliate the outsider, and make an example of him. And so the confrontation that would become legend, the instant, decisive moment that would define the name Ethan Cole, drew steadily closer. It happened on a Thursday evening, just as the sun dipped behind the ridge and the shadows stretched long across Main Street. Mayor Dent assembled a crowd in front of the courthouse. Deputies flanked him, rifles slung over shoulders, hands resting too confidently on their grips. Dent had summoned Ethan under the guise of questioning, but his true motive pulsed beneath every word: public humiliation. Ethan arrived quietly, hands visible, posture relaxed, but alert. The murmurs grew. Several veterans shifted uneasily, sensing a trap they couldn't yet name. Dent stepped forward, voice dripping with the self-assured thunder of a man who believed he controlled the room. "Ethan Cole," he announced, "you have claimed to be a former Army sniper. Yet according to federal records, you are no one. Nothing. A ghost." Ethan said nothing. Dent smirked. "Tell the people the truth, or I will arrest you for obstructing an investigation into the recent murders." The crowd tensed. Deputies tightened their grips. Then, a sharp metallic click echoed from the roofline. A glint, a silhouette, a rifle barrel emerging from the corner of a building. One of the unknown killers had returned, and he wasn't aiming at Dent. He was aiming at a child standing in the crowd. Everything froze. The deputy closest to the threat didn't see it. Dent didn't see it. Most didn't even register what was about to unfold. But Ethan saw. And what happened next became the most dissected, replayed, whispered moment in Briar Ridge history. A single movement, fluid, instantaneous, terrifyingly precise. Ethan grabbed the deputy's holstered sidearm, drew it, pivoted, and fired one shot. A crack like splitting stone. A shout. A cascade of dust from the rooftop. The sniper collapsed backward, rifle clattering onto the shingles. Silence. Ethan placed the pistol back into the stunned deputy's hands, calm as a man returning a borrowed pen. Mayor Dent's face drained of color, because in that split second, everyone understood. Only someone with elite, disciplined, battlefield-honed skill could have made that shot. And only someone with a past buried deeper than public records could move with that kind of deadly certainty. The silence after the shot hung heavier than the smoke drifting from the rooftop. People stared at Ethan as though seeing him for the first time, not as a drifter or a suspicious stranger, but as someone who had just saved a child's life with impossible speed. Deputies scrambled. Some rushed the building, others checked on the shaken child. The town doctor hurried forward, trembling hands trying to steady herself. And Mayor Dent, the man who had tried moments earlier to disgrace Ethan, looked like he had aged 10 years. He sputtered, You assaulted an officer." "No," the deputy whispered, still gripping the pistol Ethan had returned. "He saved us." Dent tried again, louder this time, as if volume could restore his slipping authority. "He's armed. He's dangerous. Detain him." No one moved. The deputy closest to Ethan squared his shoulders and stepped subtly between Dent and Ethan. "Sir," he said evenly, "if he hadn't acted, a child would be dead right now. We all know it." The crowd murmured in agreement. Dent's face twisted, pride wounded, ego bleeding. "He's a fraud, a liar, a man with no record." Finally, Ethan spoke. "I never said I served on record." Dent froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" Ethan's gaze drifted over the crowd, not proud, not boastful, simply honest. "Some units don't appear in databases. Some missions don't end up on paper. Some people do their duty, and afterward the world decides they were never there." A veteran near the front, Sergeant Hal Bishop, a man known for his bluntness, stepped forward. "He's telling the truth, Harold. I've seen men like him, men the government pretends not to know, because acknowledging them means acknowledging what they had to do." Dent started to speak, but another voice cut through. It was Sheriff Damon Hayes, a respected figure who had watched everything from the courthouse steps. "Ethan," the sheriff said quietly, "just tell me this. Were those killings connected to the men who just tried to take a shot at us?" Ethan nodded. Dent snapped, "So he did kill them." Ethan's reply was steady. "They came here looking for me, not for anyone else. They were hunting me, and they did not care who got in the way. I handled it before they could harm your people." The crowd reacted with mixed shock and relief. Hayes studied Ethan carefully, weighing judgment against instinct. "Why are they after you?" the sheriff asked. Ethan hesitated. "Because of something from a long time ago. Something classified. Something I walked away from. But that didn't walk away from me." Dent barked, "Sheriff, arrest him." But Hayes didn't move. He looked from Ethan to the rooftop, to the child who had nearly been killed. Then he turned to Dent. "Harold," he said calmly, "I've known you a long time. Long enough to recognize when your pride is talking instead of your brain. This man saved your citizens tonight. I'm not arresting him." The crowd erupted, some in approval, some in disbelief. Dent's voice shook with rage. "You're choosing him over your own mayor." Hayes didn't flinch. "I'm choosing justice over your ego." The humiliation was complete. Dent's authority evaporated like mist under sunlight. Ethan had not raised a hand against him, had not spoken a harsh word. Yet Dent had been defeated, utterly, because his arrogance had blinded him to the truth standing right in front of him. The moral settled over the gathered crowd like a solemn verdict. True power does not boast. True skill does not shout. And arrogance always collapses under the weight of its own pride. Weeks passed, but the memory of that decisive moment refused to fade. The rooftop bullet hole became a landmark. Parents pointed it out to their children. Veterans analyzed Ethan's stance and timing with reverent awe. Hunters debated the angle, concluding unanimously that the shot was nearly impossible. But Ethan never discussed it. He repaired the abandoned house he had come for, his late mother's property, and lived there quietly. He helped the diner owners fix a generator, repaired fences for neighbors, bought groceries for a disabled veteran down the road. He asked for nothing. And so the legend grew. People whispered theories, that he was part of a classified task force, that he had once protected diplomats, that he had taken a vow of silence about missions no one would ever know. The truth remained unknown. And perhaps that was the point. One day, Sheriff Hayes visited him, not with suspicion, but with respect. "You know," the sheriff said, leaning against the porch rail, "if you ever want to talk about what happened to you, what those men wanted, my door is open." Ethan shook his head gently. "Some stories aren't meant to be told, Sheriff, only carried." Hayes nodded. "Then carry this one thing with you. This town owes you, more than we can say." Ethan gave a faint, tired smile. "Protect them. That's all the debt I need repaid." The sheriff paused, then asked the question everyone had wondered. "Why did you come back here in the first place?" Ethan looked out toward the fields, golden beneath the setting sun. "Because eventually," he said softly, "every soldier searches for a place where his ghosts stop following." Hayes exhaled. "Did you find it?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. The breeze rustled through the wheat. The sky dimmed into evening. At last he said, "Not yet, but I'm closer than I've ever been." From that day forward, the story of the sniper who never existed became a quiet piece of Briar Ridge's unofficial history, told in hushed tones, respected by veterans, doubted by outsiders, but believed wholeheartedly by those who had seen the truth with their own eyes. And Ethan? He remained exactly what he had always been, a protector without recognition, a warrior without a uniform, a reminder that real heroes rarely fit neatly into the boxes society tries to place them in. His final words to Sheriff Hayes became a piece of local wisdom, quoted for years to come. "The world remembers the loud ones, but it's the quiet ones who keep it standing." Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories from Histofy.